Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and this video, much like some of the ones that we've done in the past, is kind of a podcast or kind of panel discussion with myself and Zaim, and we typically bring in a third party. This one is specifically focused on the content creation aspect of Star Citizen and really about tips, ideas, struggles, whatever it may be. Just kind of the real feel for what creating content in Star Citizen is like. And for this one, we bring in one of my favorite streamers in the game, and that's XeroState. If you haven't checked out his channel, there is information to do so in the description below, along with Zaim's channel. So hopefully you enjoy the content and enjoy the stream.
So, STLYoungblood and Xero. Or how do you like to call yourself?
Most people call me Xero, yeah.
All right. So today we're going to talk about content creation on Star Citizen. So we're going to start with STLYoungblood and then with Xero. So introduce yourself and how did you start your channel?
Yeah, so I'm STLYoungblood. I have started my channel quite a ways back, actually. It was back in, technically there was a few videos out there from Call of Duty Black Ops, I think it was, but that was just some of the uploaded clips. The real stuff really started coming in with really PlanetSide 2. I guess I technically got some editing chops that came out of doing some Battlefield 2 montages and probably some pretty cringy stuff, but it was fun just to kind of show off the gameplay to some friends. And then PlanetSide 2 came out, and I just kind of naturally took to the flying aspect of the game. There wasn't a lot of tutorials or guidance on how to do flight with a really strange flight model in that game that was really just mouse and keyboard, and with planes that didn't fly like planes. Frankly, it was more 6-degree of freedom type stuff, kind of like we have here, but on a little bit more linear axis. So I started doing some kind of training videos and tutorials, and started getting a little bit of notoriety. And I think I saw the channel grow from 70 to probably 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers by the time I started doing Star Citizen content. And then that's really when Star Citizen came out, or not really came out. This was 2014, was when I actually subscribed. And shortly after doing that, it was when the Hangar module came out, and then that was my first Star Citizen video. And nothing really happened with the game or my channel of any real meaning until I did my first Picking the Right Ship video, which was, it was the first Should You Buy video, which was on the Gladius, and did that. And that's where the channel's grown from.
So you can say the Gladius made you famous?
In a way, and it's still getting a good recommendation from me. So maybe I'm a homer.
Xero, introduce yourself and how did you start your channel?
Yeah, so I'm Xero. I started my channel about 5 years ago, and I just started streaming as a hobby. I stream games like Battletech, Fallout, Skyrim. I did some MechWarrior Online. I was kind of big into that for a little while. It was just kind of random stuff, really variety, as it were. And, the channel stayed small, and that was fine by me because I met some good friends through that over the years, and still have some of those friends. As either moderators or longtime subscribers, that kind of thing. People that I genuinely know things about their life, and they know things about my life, and I feel like we're genuinely friends. So it's been a really good experience overall. But I backed the game of Star Citizen in I think it was late 2013 or early 2014. And I kind of just looked at it every once in a while for the longest time. And then probably in 2019, I started kind of getting back into the game a little bit. I'd play a little bit more. I streamed it once in a while. And, now it's the game that I stream and play the most. I think there's more gameplay in Star Citizen now, obviously, than there ever has been. And I think the community is really supportive of not only its content creators, but also just of the game itself. So I think it's a really cool ecosystem of support, and content and just gameplay and having a good time and meeting new people all the time. So definitely met more people playing Star Citizen than any other game. But yeah, it's been a bit of a ride, but I've enjoyed it for sure.
Is there a particular time or event that happened that made you explode or be famous?
Well, I woke up to some texts from a friend of mine saying, dude, you need to open up Reddit. because your face is on the front page. And I was like, what? There was some silly landing that I was doing a competition in Star Citizen, and I was landing on this rooftop, and I just did a goofy flip that everybody was doing and landed it, and it looked kind of cool, whatever. And I posted it to the Star Citizen Reddit because it looked neat, and some people liked it. And some guy who I think I met him once in my stream chat. He grabbed that, and then he made it into like a GIF, which Reddit likes GIFs, and posted it to the gaming subreddit, and it just took off. And so I woke up to these text messages basically saying like, dude, you're literally on the front page of Reddit, which was terrifying. So if there's a claim to fame, it's probably that one. But I think the channel has just, like my Twitch channel, for instance, has just seen kind of like relatively steady growth over the last couple of years. You kind of dig into a game and that kind of happens with the community,
All right, STLYoungblood, why do you prefer YouTube over streaming?
Well, the simple answer is I'm pretty terrible live, so being able to edit myself down and have as many takes as I want to is helpful. That's not entirely true. I'm actually okay on my feet. For me, it's really personally just kind of a work-life content balance thing for me. I think when people are interested in watching and available, I'm typically busy with family, or I just want to be able to play sometimes. Between pretty laborsome, full-time job, and then you start talking about having 3 kids and the wife, and just family life in general. It's a little bit easier just to kind of sit down and do the content when I have time to do it. It's not as demanding as having kind of that recurring schedule that streaming has. I typically say that I'm kind of a once in a blue moon streamer. Like, I'll eventually fire up OBS and just do like a live on lunch or something that I haven't done in probably 5 years at this point. But I enjoy doing it just because the interaction's a lot more fun. It's a little bit more back and forth and real time, where you kind of start talking about like comment section, which can obviously be pretty trollsome, and it's just a typical comment section, but that's a little bit more asynchronous as far as the response goes. But I think for me, it's just kind of the methodology that works. And I also think that it allows me to put the information in the content, because most of my stuff is either guidance or tutorial based. And because of that, it allows me to really focus down and distill it into what I want it to be. And it could still be a 20-minute video that doesn't feel all that distilled, but it's the entirety of the content in one self-contained format, versus the adaptability of having to kind of react to what's happening during a stream. It's just, I've got that preference as far as the type of content I want to do, and then how that balances out with how I just kind of manage my life. The content is always a fun secondary thing for me, as opposed to kind of the brave souls that are trying to do this full time.
Xero, why do you prefer streaming over YouTube?
For me, it's just what I'm most comfortable with. I think there's kind of what STL said, like having a family and having different schedules that might change here and there. Like, that's conducive to making videos and putting them up and having people enjoy them there. And you can condense the content a little bit, which is awesome because, for me, I do have a few YouTube videos, but nothing great, where it's like just like a how-to video here and there. And that's really condensed information, right? But the live streaming component for me is just really interesting because I really like to get in touch with people and talk to them in that live environment, when I feel it's a weird like loneliness almost that you feel when you're making that, at least I feel when I'm making content that I am not engaging with somebody while I'm making it, if that makes sense. So it's probably just because I'm most used to it. Yeah, I think I just enjoy it. I enjoy the live component with chatting with people in real time and bouncing ideas off of each other and things like that.
STLYoungblood, what attracted you to Star Citizen, and what made you become a Star Citizen content creator?
Well, I would say I've always been a fan of space games, and while I had a pretty significant lull in kind of some of the earlier years of some of the spaceflight games that kind of came out, I'm a product of my generation, and I've spent a lot of time playing X-Wing, TIE Fighter, Wing Commanders. You can even start getting into some of the homeworld type games. There's just kind of that, spacefaring nerd aspect of me that's ever persisting. And I think the org PXP is really kind of responsible for exposing me to that, or to Star Citizen, because they started talking about this game, and I hadn't really heard it. I hadn't really been following it. I'd just been so into kind of FPS shooters at the time that it didn't even really hit my radar. And with the kind of family schedule and work and stuff, I don't have a ton of time. I have a couple hours maybe every night, a couple times a week, just depending on how things are going. So I'm not always looking for what that next game is. So getting exposure to it, learning about it, I think I could feel myself. Honestly, everything stemmed off of this whole decision I had to make back in 2013, 2014 of, am I going to buy a 325A or am I going to buy an Avenger? And I spent so much time doing research and reading forums and trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I eventually made my decision. And then I saw the ship in the hangar and I was like, this is awesome. I want other people to be able to see this. And then I think that kind of natural research and methodology of trying to pick what type of ship I wanted and why and where I was placing value on things almost kind of provided me with some insight into how it felt like CIG was trying to do game balance. And I think I just found a way that it was easy enough for me to start communicating that to others through the content. And it became just kind of a passion to start doing that. So I think it just kind of, my introduction to the game was almost an introduction into content for the game as well.
XeroState, what attracted you to Star Citizen and what made you become a full-time Star Citizen content creator?
Oh, man. Probably... the 325A, by the way, STL was the one for me.
Right? Oh my God. So
it was so pretty. Those flying buttresses, you just can't get over it.
It's the best.
But and the red and black is just such a gorgeous ship. So I originally backed Star Citizen. A friend of mine told me about it, and I got the 325A, and I was like, all right, cool. We're gonna wait. It's like a Kickstarter. We're gonna wait a couple of years, whatever. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I just kind of set the game down after a little while, because there was nothing to play. The hangar module eventually came out. I checked some stuff out, and didn't really have an urge to share it, but it was just kind of interesting to see. It was pretty, and I think it was actually one of my now moderators. His name is Outlaw. He mentioned to me, he's like, hey, man, I know you're a Star Citizen backer, because I was playing Fallout 4 at the time. And I actually met him while I was playing Fallout 4, while I was streaming it. And he was like, hey, man, you're a Star Citizen too. You should try it on stream sometime. And I think I streamed it once or twice, and I would kind of go back and forth a little bit. And it just kind of morphed its way into kind of my heart, as it were. And people constantly ask me, how do you play Star Citizen this much? And I was like, I don't know. I genuinely just love logging in and getting in my ship and flying. I'd never get tired of it at this point. So it's pretty easy to be a full-time content creator with Star Citizen when you love it that much,
So speaking of which, STLYoungblood, how does one become an official SC content creator?
I don't know. I think you just make content with SC, right? I mean, the devs I think the devs get in touch with and hang out once in a while with and engage with content creators of any size, really. I think I see them, they're on Twitter, pretty popular on Twitter. And you'll see people posting interesting screenshots that, maybe they make a video here and there, or maybe they have a smaller stream or a stream, maybe there's a stream for 2-3 people, but if it's something that the Star Citizen social media people really enjoy, they'll like it or they'll retweet it and stuff. And I think they engage with their community in that way pretty well.
STL?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that they've done a really nice job of finding a way to support content creators regardless of channel. Whether it's their internal hub or on Spectrum, or even shouting out people on some of their weekly shows. I mean, obviously YouTube and Twitch are going to be your easiest ways to really get places. And it seems that they've really done a nice job of finding a way to be very interactive with the Twitch community. You see it a lot of times in the wave ones of patches that are coming out, like 317. Like when new ships start arriving, like I wouldn't be surprised here soon that if people are going to start seeing developers show up on people's streams with flying a whole A around. just to kind of get like hype built up, but also to draw interest into the community, the content creators' channels. So they've done a nice job of that. To Zero's point, I don't know the constraints there, but there does seem to be some either frequency or audience reach or something there where the team does kind of reach out and finds ways to kind of help support the channel and gives a little bit of access and things like that. And I think that's really nice and helpful, and it's a kind gesture that they kind of give back that way, because it's mutually beneficial, right? They're supporting the people that are providing them with exposure to the game, and we're obviously providing some of that exposure. And I kind of, yeah, I've always kind of said that the content creators are almost like the unofficial marketing team for the game. Not all of us are as positive as everybody is, but regardless, there's that old saying, any publicity is good publicity. And while I don't necessarily agree with that, I would say that most people don't play the game unless they enjoy it. So if people are out there playing the game and showing other people that, it's a good relationship there. But I think at the end of the day, it's really just that, as far as becoming an official one, I would just say it's about activity, and there's probably some positivity requirements there. I don't know. But, just overall, probably just being a good public kind of view for the game and allowing other people to interact and get exposure that way.
Zero, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think something that STL touched on is that not everybody's overly positive about the game either. There's some great content creators like Salty Mike or the Moist Noodle, etc. It's just Moist Noodle. I don't know why I said the Moist Noodle. It's because of Twitter. That's why I said that. But
maybe we should start a petition.
They're great examples of people who are often critical of the game in places where they feel like they should be critical. So it's something to be said where I've had this comment before, like, the content creators for SC do nothing but talk good about the game, blah blah blah. Well, I love the game, so I'm going to say good things when I'm having fun. But at the same time, if there's something that's so broken and frustrating to me, like, I'm going to be frustrated just like any other person, any other gamer, I'm going to be frustrated by that bug, and I'm going to say it, and I might say it to 100 people, in a live environment. So, that criticism goes a long ways too.
Zero. Some people say that Star Citizen is a just chatting game. What are your thoughts on that?
Just chatting game. I don't know. I mean, I guess I've never seen it that way. Maybe back in the day when there was just hangars, or the only thing you could do is go to Security Post Korea and shoot each other and pick up cigars and whiskey. But I mean, now you could, I would say Star Citizen crossed the threshold when it became that there was so much stuff in the game to do that you couldn't do all of it in one play session. If you tried to do every type of mission and every type of gameplay, like mining and trade and piracy and bounty hunting, player bounty hunting, PvP, PvE, bunker missions, et cetera, you tried to do all those things in one play session, it would take you too long and you wouldn't be able to do it. That to me is a big step forward in the game, where it's like, this is a game to play. I mean, yeah, it's buggy, and yeah, sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes you're waiting on a character reset. I've done the same thing. I've literally gone to kind of a just chatting on my stream where we just started chatting while I was waiting for a character reset to happen. It's happened before. That's more and more rare these days, but it can happen. But really, I mean, if you log into the game, there's content for you there,
STLYoungblood. Is creating content for Star Citizen hard these days?
I mean, I guess it depends on how creative you are. I would say no. It's not hard. It can be complex to kind of understand some of the nuances and understand where, what type of content may be relevant and, needed. I would say that there's so much that changes with the game that, like, some of the issues that I have is relevancy of my older content would be a good topic. Whether it's just we've added so many ships that my old recommendation videos are no longer current. That's why I'm going back through and redoing my Picking the Right Ship series right now, is because the last time I did it was about 5 years ago. We all know how much stuff has changed in that time period. But even things like, mechanics, like I've done some old loadout videos where I'm saying, like, hey, here's the best loadout for a Super Hornet. Well, things have changed. Now all of a sudden we've got, fixed guns with a little bit of auto aim. You've got capacitors. You've got the weapon rework where everything basically performs the same. You've got the ballistic versus energy changes. You've got turrets that are now actually functional. And that was a huge one that changes things because it changes the fundamental balance of the game, where it used to be 2 ships was always better than 1 ship with a turret. That's just not the case anymore. So I think sometimes, almost having like a data retention policy on your videos is relevant to some degree, because it would be easy for somebody to do a deep dive on your channel or just find something that was popular 7 or 8 years ago. And now all of a sudden they're like taking that as gospel and trying to run with it. So no, I don't think it's necessarily hard to find things to talk about. You can just see by some of the content creators that we all know and love. There's a wide range of people. You've got people like Super Mac and Board that cover literally everything. You've got Noob that kind of does the same thing but condenses it down into like the most digestible morsel possible. You've got some people like myself that are doing things that are less informational and more either guidance based or tutorial. So there's just so much that comes out. And I think as much as we all like to kind of, bitch and moan about the development cycle and it no longer really feeling as open as it used to, we still get a lot of information for the development of the game. And there's plenty of information to talk to. I think it's just kind of understanding the nuances of what's happening in a game development cycle that's taking a very long time, and how to keep the information relevant and interesting to people, and then just kind of finding it, just iterating and changing how you kind of present that information until you kind of find your base.
Xero, you play Star Citizen a lot and stream it. Do you find it hard to keep things fresh?
Sometimes you run into this thing where you're like, I don't really want to do that thing today, and I don't really want to do that thing today, and I don't really want to do that thing. Oh, and that thing's broken today, So, but at the same time, like, I think if my chosen gameplay was like trade routes right now, and this is as of March 2022, I think that it could be difficult because trade is just not great. But people like that chill atmosphere. I mean, I've seen streamers, they'll talk shop about the game or about development or about whatever while they're just trading. I think I've seen Sigelian doing it. I've seen a few others doing that as well. And so yeah, it's I think there's just stuff to do. Some of it is a little more mindless than other things are. My typical gameplay is finding wanted players and sending them to Klesher for the most part. But even that can be spiced up by using VoIP in the game to talk to the player. I've made deals with players before. I've literally put an FX on my voice in my Buccaneer and followed a player who was running across Hurston's surface to the security depot like 2 kilometers and did like an announcer voice for him the entire time like he was running a race. When I got there, we both chilled out and he paid me a little money to run security for him while he could clear his crime stats. So I think you can make those situations in Star Citizen because it's the player element especially. You can make those situations just very different and, keep creating these unique experiences for the most part. I think if the game stopped development today, obviously those experiences would run out because we'd run out of new places and locations and mechanics and different things. But given the play space right now, it's pretty diverse.
STLYoungblood, how being a content creator changed your life?
I would say it's given me a little bit more notoriety, in the games that I've played. It's funny. I talk about how I kind of appreciate the asynchronous communication on the of the YouTube comment section, for example. But there's something fun about somebody just seeing your name in a server and being like, Youngblood, I love your videos. Hey, I got a question for you. And then it almost becomes like this interaction where it's almost like a Q&A in the server with people, or so I think there's a little bit of that. I don't want to call it like I don't want to call it like an ego thing, but I think it's just fun to have, a little bit of like association of like notoriety around a game that you're kind of passionate about. Like you become known as, a subject matter expert, and people kind of trust you and come to you for guidance, and you get to help. Like that's fun to me. I don't know how much being a content creator has fundamentally changed my life. As I mentioned, good full-time job, family stuff like that all comes first for me. And I think I enjoy playing, and I just enjoy making content. Like the process of sitting down and working on an outline and putting videos together and putting it out there and seeing the response. I get personal enjoyment out of that. There's some financial perks that come with it, but I mean, I'm not quitting my job to go do this. It's just kind of some of the, stuff on the side. Helps around Christmas time when the ad revenue spikes and I get to buy some presents with that, money or, whatever. I mean, there's some benefits to it, but I don't know there's really any necessary fundamental changes to my life other than I've just found a hobby that I legitimately enjoy. And I think the fact that other people seem to enjoy that is a good reflection of that. And I think that's something that, just as a value add for me, that a hobby is something that other people appreciate. It just feels good.
Xero, how being a content creator changed your life?
Oh, I don't have a life anymore. That's how it changed my life. No, I would say it's definitely helped me meet people from all over the world. I've got people that I would call friends from Ireland and Scotland and everywhere, just all over the place. So it's really a worldwide thing in that way. And over time, you start to get to know people from all over the place. You learn more about the world, and it expands your horizons a lot to meet people from all over the place. And to get to know them and to understand their lives a little bit, I've learned from watching, for instance, Moist Noodle, right? I've learned so much more than I would ever want to know about Great Britain or England in general. Just things like that, I think, is the biggest way it's changed my life. It makes you more worldly, if that's the word. You just kind of get to know more about the world than I thought I ever would,
I tell you what's another one here, and I kind of talked about like the full-time job, is there's something about content creation that kind of helps hone some of your orator skills. And I can honestly say that it's been a little bit of a give and take, where I started working before I started content creation. So I had a baseline of how to be able to talk in public and be able to present ideas in a relatively intelligent fashion. But then the practice that I got making videos over and over again made me a better presenter, which was directly relevant in my job. And I feel like both kind of reinforce each other along the way. So I think there's been some just personal gains that I've had on both sides of my employment side that has been really a direct result of the content creation reinforcing what I do during the day.
STLYoungblood, do you have any advice for anyone who is a small content creator on YouTube?
Yes. The advice that I always give to people when they come out is you either have to do one of two things to make a mark. And I guess that's making an assumption, right? Like that's the assumption that somebody wants to grow their channel. I think it's important to understand what your goals are. And then once you understand what you really want out of it, then you can kind of start pointing people in the right direction. If you just do it because you have fun with the process or you enjoy making content, you don't care about the revenue stream, you don't necessarily care about, the subscriber count or whatever it is, just do stuff that makes you happy. If people like it, they don't. If they do, great. If they don't, they don't. It doesn't really matter. You're enjoying the process. You're documenting your journey in the game. You get to test out, a new skill set, something like that. If your goal is really to grow, though, in my mind, I'm not like a coach for anybody that's trying to, make a mark in, the YouTube space. But my personal opinion on the matter is that you need to do one of two things. One is either you need to have a personality that sets you aside from everybody else. I don't think that's me. I think the other option there, though, is you find your niche. You need to do something that other people aren't doing, or you need to do it in a different way than other people are doing. I mentioned I started the Should You Buy series, and that's kind of where things jumped off for me. I just kind of became the ship guidance guy. Like that became kind of my niche. And that's why I grew. I'm not a terribly engaging guy. I'm not a terribly, I don't have a huge personality. But, I think that information was something that was relevant to a lot of people. And then I kind of became associated with that. You can see that in other major creators too, like Morphologist is a good example with the whole architect reviews things. How many people have been doing ship tours? I do ship tours. There's some of my best videos as far as just the number of views are concerned, but it's me walking around a ship talking about them. He kind of took that. I'm not saying he took that from me by any means. A ship tour is not me, that's not my thing. But he kind of took that and layered in a different way of doing it. Let me give you my real world perspective on this ship, and let me talk to you about it while providing you information about the ship, and let me tell you how it may impact what happens in the future. I think people that find new ways to do things that are going to pique people's interest are going to be the people that continue to see growth in their channel. So it can be hard coming into a game that's been out since, well, out is a funny way of saying that with Star Citizen, a game that has been around for a decade now, but people are still doing it. And I think that's the key. If you really want to see the growth, it's either the personality that stands out and people are engaged with, or it's a content type that's filling a void and is something new and refreshing.
XeroState, what advice do you have for somebody who wants to just start streaming?
Yeah, so my number one advice is make sure your audio is clean and make sure your stream is smooth. I know it sounds weird, but if somebody clicks on a stream, they'll watch an ad maybe or whatever it might be. But when they come to the stream, if the audio is unbalanced or the game is blaring or your music is not is like quiet to you but really loud to the viewers, it's going to turn people off. As much as I hate to say it, it's things like that. People want to come and they want to have like a balanced experience. They want to feel like they're watching TV, and TV has usually relatively balanced audio. They have people that do that. So I would say work on the audio, work on just getting the stream smooth, and then watch your own VODs back. So whenever you start getting VOD save on Twitch, for instance, you can go back the next day and like kind of skip through your VOD and be like, all right, what could I do better? I could have made this, balance this audio a little bit differently throughout the stream. And I was muted. My mic was muted for half an hour, over here, which has happened to me before. Yeah, I would say just probably those three things is work on your audio, make sure the stream is smooth and clean, and watch your own VODs back, and then make it better. I have one more thing. Get used to hearing your own voice, because it's the worst thing ever, and you have to be used to it.
Yeah. Honestly, I would say as somebody who doesn't really do much streaming, but tends to hop around, and maybe it's the egomaniac in me, but I like to kind of jump in on the like low pop streams that are playing Star Citizen. And I like to try and interact with some of the content creators. And it feels like there's a large number of people that are playing. They're on camera, but they're not paying attention to who's coming in and what's happening in their stream. We already talked about some of the developers coming in and kind of interacting with the community. And I think there's people there that want to come in and try and support and help. But either way, even if it's not, if your goal is to kind of grow your channel and kind of grow like who you're interacting with, if you're not paying attention to the chat section, I feel like you're kind of not giving anything different. There's just no kind of personality there to me. I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel like when I start chatting with somebody and I sit there for 5 minutes typing and nobody's responding, I'm just like, well, I'm not going to stick around here. I'm going to go talk to somebody else because I'm here to interact. Otherwise, I'd go watch a YouTube video, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The whole point is the live interaction, right? So, yep.
Zaim, final words. I don't know. I would say, content creation is a thing of passion, right? If you don't feel like you are interested, if you think you might have interest in it, go give it a shot. I mean, it's a new skill set. You never know when you're going to have to edit a video in the future. You may find a time 10 years from now that you find your parents' wedding DVD and you need to upscale it, or you need to cut it down to, celebrate their anniversary in the future or something like that, right? So the worst case scenario is you're walking away with a new skill set, and that's always a good thing. You'll find out pretty quick if you like it or not. I would say what you need to know, though, for certain, if you're considering getting into content creation, is things don't happen fast, okay? Like, there will be times where somebody does something really funny or really cool and it gets traction. And Zero's example earlier is a good example. But like sometimes you will do something that gets you a ton of notoriety right off the bat. And that's amazing when it happens. But that's not the normal story. like you typically build and build and build, and it can be a grind. And sometimes it can mean jumping games to be able to kind of capture some of that interest, but that could be a painful experience in itself. Regardless of how you do it, the key is make sure you enjoy the process, because we're all making content on video games, right? And we play video games because we like video games, but making content, at least on the YouTube space, and I know there's setup and prep on the live stream side too, takes time away from when you're actually playing. So not everybody is going to become a massive success in content creation. They're just not. I'm not a massive success in content creation. I'm happy with where I'm at, but I'm also not trying to live off of it. So I think the important thing is it has to be something you enjoy, because you don't know where it's going to end. But at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy doing it, like if you really just don't enjoy doing it, it's just not worth the time. You just need to be passionate about why you're doing it and understand why you're doing it. And then you can start making better decisions. But the other thing there too would be, like, most people that make content are happy to kind of put other people under their wings, especially on Star Citizen. I feel like we've got a really good, tight-knit community base where, at the very least, most people are willing to share guidance and advice and answer questions. Some are willing to give shout outs and help people or do collaborations. I think if you're interested and you show an aptitude and you've got to start, I think the community is there to help people. And I think they're willing to do it. The key is just understanding what your goals are and acting on them.
Xero, anything to add?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. Enjoying the process is a huge part of it, because the odds are that, I mean, and even for myself, my channel has grown a little bit, but the odds are my channel's never going to have 5,000-10,000 people watching. Most people don't make it big on Twitch or on YouTube, but time, effort, enjoyment, and kind of working with the process, trying new things, finding out what works, and making that your own is just very important to that.
So at the end of the day, just have fun.
Yeah, that's a good start.
Yep. Just have fun.
All right.
And try something new.
All right. So if you guys want to follow STLYoungblood, he is on YouTube. STL, where is your channel and how can people find you?
If you search pretty much anywhere STLYoungblood, you'll find me. If you search Picking the Right Ship or Should You Buy Star Citizen, you'll find some of my videos. On Twitter, STLYoungblood. Trying to be a little more active there. It's always kind of a second thought. Technically on Twitch with STLYoungblood as well. The username's consistent everywhere. Nobody has my username anywhere. So if you search STLYoungblood, you'll find my stuff. So come check it out if it's interesting. Otherwise, go check out Xero. He's probably my favorite streamer. I tell him that often.
Aw. That's very kind of you to say. That's big ups, man. Which is ironic, because back when I used to play PlanetSide 2, and I used to be big into PlanetSide 2 as well, STLYoungblood was a name that I knew as a content creator. I was like, that's so cool. So it's funny. It's funny that it works like that. But
your stream's always my check-in. If I come to stream hop, which I typically stream hop, I don't stick around very long, but I always go. Yours is typically my first stop every time.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Which reminds me of the story when Xero tried to hunt one of the PXP members, and that's how we met.
That's right. It was Kupo Joe. I think it was Kupo Joe, right?
Yeah, Kupo Joe.
Yeah. Big shout out to Kupo Joe. He was a really nice guy.
And we have Xero here, who also streams and is a big content creator in Star Citizen. Where do people find you, Xero?
Well, I'm on Twitch most of the time. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't have much of a life. But on Twitch, it's XeroState, XERO State on Twitch. And usually in the Star Citizen category. I do have a YouTube channel, but I don't update it very much. I really want to try to get back into some of that. I like the idea of doing like kind of simple how-to videos where it's kind of like, hey, if you have a crime stat, here's how to clear that. Or if you went to prison because you didn't watch my video of how to clear a crime stat, then here's how to do prison, something like that. So I want to try to do some of those kind of videos that are, the difficulty is that the game will change. And so I'm trying to find a way to make videos where they'll stand the test of time a little bit better, But anyway, mostly Twitch, sometimes YouTube, and I say stupid things on Twitter, but that's about it.
Zaim, I got two other thoughts too, real quick.
Go ahead.
One would be advice to people that are wanting to stream. I think a lot of the concerns are not stream to make content is on YouTube specifically. A lot of the time, what you hear is that the software to make the content is expensive, and it can be, especially if you're buying the most current version, or if you're talking about like an Adobe product where you have to pay the licensing unless you want to go sail the high seas, which I don't recommend, but whatever. But one thing that people should do, and this is kind of a nice thing for the potential creator and just the beneficiaries, is keep an eye on the Humble Bundle. If you're not familiar with that, it's typically packages of games. Sometimes it's software or whatever. I've bought my last two Sony Vegas Pros off of the Humble Bundle. I think you can get them for as cheap as $25. It comes with other software. And the features that you get out of them are, frankly, kind of amazing. The other thing I wanted to bring up was I mentioned, kind of Morph as being a guy that's found a new way to do things. Dig That 32 is another one that I would suggest to anybody that wants to go see like what somebody else has done to kind of create a new way of presenting information. The information that Dig That's put out is not necessarily revolutionary, but his presentation and the way that he's done it is incredibly engaging and interesting. It kind of is cool voice combined with music, combined with good cadence. Like I think that would be one that I would just show as somebody like, hey, go check out what he's doing. This is what his content versus my content are night and day different. There's very produced, and then there's almost raw on my side. And I think you can kind of see different formulas to find success, but I think it's a good example for people to go out and look like, okay, here's what this guy's doing. Here's what this guy's doing. Here's what this guy's doing. There's different ways to find success, but that's kind of the niche that I'm talking about. And I don't know why I was just sitting here wrapping things up and thought like, we need to talk about him because that's a really interesting way that I think engages with a different audience. But either way, it's fresh. And I think that's something that people will find interest in. And I think people that can understand how you can evolve content to a different approach is how people are going to find success.
Can you use the same advice on streaming, Xero?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about the content creation space, especially in Star Citizen, is that you have different types of content creators that do different types of things. Some talk more. The Astropub is one who he does his office hours, I think is what he calls it, among other things, right? And then you have content creators who are like pure gameplay. I'm more one of those. We do like, watch parties and stuff like that. But so you can go through the Star Citizen category and you can find somebody who's mining. You can find somebody who's trying to trade. You can find somebody who's bounty hunting, who's doing PvP. You can find somebody who's pirating. And I just love that. You can do that on YouTube as well. There's different groups that make YouTube videos where they highlight their piracy maneuvers or whatever it might be. And I just love that the game and the community especially gives you the ability to go find what you like in the content creation space and then tune in and engage,
I also really like that you can learn from things that you don't even do or maybe even approve of. There's this whole idea that piracy is griefing or whatever. But regardless, if you go out and watch somebody on Twitch that's doing piracy and they're explaining how they're doing it, you can almost kind of operationalize that information as a cargo hauler or as a miner to understand how you avoid what they're doing because you've gained that insight. It's a really valuable tool, not just from a content creation perspective, but from a, just your success in the game. Like it's really interesting to see how some of the loops that you may not necessarily play in are done to make you better at either just how you play or how you're providing information to other people as well. It's a good source of information.
All right, I think that would be it, unless you guys have anything more to add.
No, I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I don't have anything. Zaim, you're a content creator. Anything you want to add?
I'm not going to do content creation just to grow my numbers. I just do it just because I like it. I like making music videos, and that's what I'm good at, IRL. So I just apply that in Star Citizen. That's a different way of doing things other than, should you buy and tutorials and live streaming. But yeah, I do live streaming a little. I do some. I'm really good at doing the music videos. That's where most of my views are. And these interviews have been getting a lot of traction. I think people like it. So yeah.
And how do we find your channel? Obviously, this will be posted on your channel, but what about your live stream?
Yeah, my live stream and my videos are all on YouTube. So yeah, that's how you get to find me if you find this video in a different channel. But yeah, that's about it. Just, have fun, do whatever you want. And if people like it, you'll get views.
Good stuff.
Yep. Both STLYoungblood's and Xero's links will be in the description below. And if you guys have any questions to ask either STL or Xero, you can do it either in my comment section, STL's comment section, or you can chat to Xero's directly on his Twitch channel. Is that right, Xero?
Absolutely.